Hello my viewers, welcome back to the channel. My video title, you know what this video is about. We're doing a mid-season analysis for the Pittsburgh Steelers, breaking down what happened in the first 8 games, some positives and negatives going forward, and all over. So we're going to break into that right now. So we're going to switch. I'm going to switch the camera view to the board, and we're going to get started. Okay guys, we're going to break it down, starting with the negatives. I like to start with the bad stuff first and end off good, kind of a Disney movie, you know, have the good, happy ending. So we're going to start the negatives, work our way to the positives, and then do the remaining schedule and predictions of some of the games. Okay, on the negatives, really, I feel like the negatives really just, the first thing that comes to mind when I first seen the team is, of course, the players' execution and the players being undisciplined. What I mean by that, the penalties. Now, the penalties have been piling up. The penalties, you know, the O-line, a lot of holding stuff, and a lot of, you know, just like ineligible man downfield. And we just see a lot of like this unnecessary penalties that kind of set our team back. Our team is already not built to like overcome a lot of mistakes, too many mistakes, because you know we still kind of we won't say it out loud. The organization would never say it, but we still basically rebuilding. We're building to the future, planning for the future, getting some of these guys in, young guys in, signing our key players back, and just building a team so it can be competing in the future time like that. But it really comes down to that, the being undisciplined and the execution of plays. Now, that can be part of coaching, of course. It can also be just a part of part of coaching, and also a part of just the players just not developing properly and stuff. But mostly my concern of that is really on the old line, of course, and you know, just some of the way the plays look. Like we see when the Steelers run RPOs, they kind of like get, I don't know, they kind of like not, the communication's not there, which leads to the next one, of course, which is communications. Communications is a thing too, because when you're in the RPOs, you got to be in sync with your O-line. Your O-line got to be in sync, because when because especially the center too, you got to put that ball right to his chest. I've seen some passes go high up, where the quarterback got to snatch it from the ground, from the top, and go low down. We got to get it from almost the ground, and they got to pull it back for the fake the handoff, and then it was a man downfield, because the O-lineman not really looking back to see if like, okay, is he running the ball or not. So like you got to be kind of in sync together to run those type of plays. And I feel like it kind of limits our playbook a little bit. We can't do some stuff because we're not there yet. We can't execute the plays properly. And then it leads me to the next thing, is accountability. We keep repeating the same thing over and over, saying, oh, well, I think if we do this, we do that. No, we got to take accountability for our actions. We're not playing good. So some of the players not playing good. We see guys pointing fingers and saying, well, we should study. Like Kenny Pickett saying we should study more. We see Mike Tomlin say, well, I think it's just the penalties. Once we get that on the way, I know it's more than the penalties, because there's opportunities downfield we miss on a lot. It's a lot of things that adding up. And I feel like the teams got to learn how to take accountability for their actions, and then learn to buy in their role and play their role. And when everybody play their role and put it together, that's how you form a championship team. That's how you form a winning team, a winning culture like that. Not a culture of pointing fingers, because you see different organizations of the pointing fingers and stuff like that. When we've seen, well, why we win the Super Bowl with the Killer Bees, because of the same stuff, no accountability. Big Ben going on radio shows, saying things about Antonio Brown doing things, saying things about the coaches and stuff. Nobody taking accountability for their actions, and you see what happens. You need that leadership in the locker room. You need that person to step up and say something. Like Arthur Marlette, when he was talking a couple weeks ago, he was saying like, hey, come on guys. He might not be the superstar player. He is a good player though. I think he's a good player. He's on his verge becoming a very good slot corner. But he might not be labeled as a Pro Bowl level, all pro level, but he's still a guy out there competing and putting his body on the line every single time. So him going out there and him saying things like, come on, the team got to be put together. The team got to be better. I feel like the team need to kind of buy into that leadership, and we need to see some guys step up. I know Najee Harris was elected as a leader. We know Cam Hayward be leading those guys, but we got to get into it. We need to see that leadership, because it's easy when you're winning. When you're winning, everything is easy. You know, handling the guys' problems is easy. But when you're losing, that's where you see the true leaders are defined. Like when you're losing and you see guys like start questioning themselves, questioning their teammates, and start pointing fingers, that's when you see when the true leaders step up and rise up and try to get those guys back on course and say, hey, we still got 9 games left. The season is not over yet. It might be a little shaky right now. We might be down bad a little bit, but the season's not over yet. But moving on to the next on the negatives list is play calling. Play calling is a little, you know, of course, predictable. As you see right here, predictable. And I feel like that really kind of holds it back a little bit. I feel like it's not a super major problem, but it's a big problem, because like the predictability, we've been seeing like the similar stuff the Steelers do. A lot of the short stuff, like maybe like a little drag route. I first the Steelers only run really a couple plays, probably a drag, a comeback, maybe sometimes a go route. I'm gonna throw a jump ball up, but mostly like a drag or a comeback or a curl route. Like kind of similar plays, and teams are starting to figure it out. They're like, okay, I'm not gonna play tight on you because I know you're gonna run something inside. I'll let you have those little 3 or 4 or 5 yards, but you're not getting behind me because you're gonna run. You do try to fake the go and run and then cut back. If I play too tight up on you, you just break away from me and catch the little easy pass. So they playing off of us a lot now too on some of those plays. And sometimes they might play close up on you. They're like, well, you're not gonna try to go deep, so we're gonna play close up on you. But they're really predicting our stuff. But you can really just sit back on it and watch it because it's only a couple yards. So we're only moving. We're only doing like 5-yard routes and 3-yard routes. Nothing like gonna like split the defense up. So I feel like we should add some more versatility to some of the play calling. That can also lead to, of course, the execution again. Maybe the coaching is not calling that because they can't execute the plays properly because you see a lot of penalties that's happening. And also another thing too is I feel like rushing. Of course, running the ball that's Steelers like it's kind of like that's our culture. That's the Steelers culture. Running the football and being just like just being like that ball dominant on the ground, going downhill, handing it off to your big bell cow back and just getting downhill and just getting those tough yards, maybe 4 yards to 5 yards, and they start eating them up and adding up. And then by the end of the game, he might have like 23 carries, 24 carries, but he finished it with 120. I like the Steelers are old. You see like the Jerome Bettis, remember Willie Parker for a good stint. Of course, Le'Veon Bell and stuff like that. And Najee Harris last year was doing some of that too. This year, he doesn't look the same. And I feel like that's why the rushing attack is kind of like suffered a little bit. We see Jalen Warren, we get in the game. He has that extra burst to him. I still feel like Najee Harris is the better back, of course. But I feel like Jalen Warren is the better back right now because Najee Harris, you can tell he's not 100%. I remember that Liz Frank injury that happened. That's a rare injury that happens in the foot, a Liz Frank injury in your foot. And it makes it hard for you to put weight on your foot. And it makes it hard for you to explode, especially for an athlete. So I believe last year, Travis Etienne had the Liz Frank injury, and he missed the whole season like that. He didn't come back. We see Najee Harris said, he's good. He can come back. He can play still, and he can continue to play. And we see him, he'll have that same explosion. He's playing with the injury, and it's kind of making it worse like that. You might see him a couple of weeks, I think his best game was when he had 74 rushing yards. I believe that was it might have been against the Dolphins, if I'm not mistaken. No, the Jets. Yeah, he had the 74 rushing yards against the Jets, which is his best game, which is to his standards, we've seen what he did last year. We're like, nah, that's not really a good game for him. But Najee Harris is not the same Najee Harris of last year because he's playing hurt. And I feel like he should have really set out the first 4 or 5 weeks and maybe got himself back to health because I feel like he rushed the injury back. And a Liz Frank injury, he said he was playing with a metal plate in his cleat, and I think that's kind of holding him back and kind of making him look a little bad. So I feel like the Steelers should do the best thing and maybe give him into a secondary role and let Jalen Warren take over as the starting role until Najee Harris can get back to that 100% status. Because you can just tell he's not the same Najee. Because Najee last year, we seen him last year. He get the ball, and we seen him. He get the ball in his hands, so he catch the ball. He just run up them. He just run and beat you to the first down, run through you. Now we see him do a lot of dancing, like he don't want to get hit. Like a lot of dancing, maybe I can make somebody miss and try to get out there because he can't. He got the explosion, that speed to get to the outside. You can tell he ain't got that really because it's the foot injury. I feel like that foot injury been lingering on with him the whole time and kind of keep under wraps a little bit. But yeah, I feel like Najee Harris is not 100%, and they got to start the better back at the moment, which is Jalen Warren, of course. And of course, the O-line being inconsistent and run blocking, that's also a big part of us not being able to run the ball, which is basically the formula of Steeler football, and predictable, of course, plays and routes and run packages. You kind of tell when the Steelers don't run the ball the way they have it. It's either going to be an inside zone run or going to be a pitch to the outside. And most times they don't really go too much. And lately they've been doing a lot of halfback draws, so you might see that occasionally. They actually work though, so maybe they should continue to do some different things or something, get some different looks. But moving on to the next point, which is turnovers. The team is not built to overcome turnovers. As you see, when we turn the ball over in games, most of the time we lose. Turn the ball over, and multiple of these games you lose. The Patriots game, what happened? Turn the ball over on special teams. Turn the ball over on offense, and what happened? You lost. What happened to the Browns game? You lost. What happened in the what's the name game? What game was after that? I believe it's the Jets game. The Jets game, turnovers, you lost. So like you lose every time you turn the ball over. Bills game, I know the turnover came a little later, but the game started off very shaky. Well, actually, no, it was something happened on the punt return. Something happened on the punt return, kick return thing. Yeah, I think James Pierre fumbled. Yeah, he was running the kick return and he's fumbled. So the turnover happened. So when turnovers happen with the Steelers, we're not really built to come back. And as you can see, most of our losses when we turn the ball over once or twice. I don't think we can afford to turn the ball over once, but let alone twice. like that, we most likely not going to win. So we got to make sure to minimize turnovers. I know it's kind of hard to do that because you got to put the ball in the air because you can't run the ball on the ground. Running the ball on the ground kind of protect the ball a lot. But you got to put the ball in the air because the rushing attack is not working. So it's making it a little difficult for us to try to like get into the groove. And then we move on to the next bullet point. Let me get down a little bit, which is star players. Star players, of course, you see on the first name on the list is TJ Watt. It's a negative of him missing because, you know, he's the best player on the team by a good margin. When TJ Watt do not play, the Steelers are 1. When TJ Watt don't play, the Steelers are 1-10 without TJ Watt. That's a crazy record. 1-10 without TJ Watt. Man, that's a terrible record. 1-10 without TJ Watt. And then you see that we had 7 sacks in week 1 with him. And then after he got injured, between week 2 and week 8, the Steelers have only gotten 8 sacks. Only 8 sacks. 8 sacks, really? That's what kind of like holding us back a lot. The pressure has not been the same. Of course, like in some few games, like the Buccaneers game, the pressure looked good. And then in the Dolphins game, they did all right and stuff like that. And then of course the last game we played, which was against the Eagles, you see early on in the game when the game was tied 7-7 for a little bit. They had their moments, but the team really hasn't been able to put up get pressure and get some sacks and anything like that. And like kind of like the old Pittsburgh Steelers who led the league in sacks for the past 5-6 years like that. So I think our streak gonna be broken this year because unless TJ Watt can come back and go crazy. I know Alex Highsmith is going out there balling. Cam Hayward, we know who he is. He's a Hall of Famer like that. But it's just like the team don't have that same pressure. TJ Watt is a generational player for a reason, and he's the best player for a reason. And now we see why TJ Watt was paid all that money because of that stuff right there. Maybe eventually he'll come back, but we'll get to that a little bit later in this video. Najee Harris, Liz Frank injury in training camp. I thought like I talked about earlier, that injury is kind of lingering on. It's kind of holding him back. He's been one of the best players coming in this year. He played last year at Big Ben. He knows what it feels like to get in the playoffs. He knows what it feels like to be playing with a Hall of Famer, and he learned all that experience from Big Ben. Learned a lot of things from him coming to the season as a leader and going to be like one of those big key roles. But he hasn't been able to do that because he didn't have the explosion. He hasn't been able to be the Najee Harris that we saw last year, and hopefully can get back to that. I don't know if it'll be this year, but maybe next year when he actually gets fully healthy. Jesse Johnson, another one too. Jesse Johnson, of course, he have his moments here and there, but yet to put up 100 yards in the game, I think this season. Yep. And DJ Johnson also, when we start giving him praises and saying, oh, DJ Johnson's about to be there. Like last year when he made the Pro Bowl, had 100 catches, 1,000 yards, we like, okay, he's gonna be that. He's gonna be that guy. He's gonna be up there and start moving up. He always falls back down from that height. We like he's gonna be an elite level receiver. He falls back down to a solid number 1 receiver because of the drops, because of the inconsistency of creating separation and all the extra stuff that come with it. Of course, some of that can be, half of that can be on him, half of that can be on the team like that. But I feel like, some of the great players, like some of those plays you've seen, there's a few plays this season we've seen, when he throw the ball was thrown to him, he had 2 hands on it, and they get tipped up in the air, interception, or he dropped like that. Now, we see some of that here and there, but it's just like, if you're that guy, pick anybody in that situation. I know Trey Brown's controversial right now, so I want to use him as an example. Let me use somebody else like Julio Jones. Put Julio Jones in that situation like that. Not that Julio Jones now a little injured, but like the Julio Jones of old, like when he's in his prime, he gonna make that play. Any receiver nowadays, like the Justin Jeffersons, the A.J. Browns, who else? The Tyreek Hills, the Jalen Waddles, they're making that play. They're making that play every time. DeAndre Hopkins, those guys making the plays, and there's a reason they're making plays. Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry making that play. DK Metcalf gonna make that play. Those guys right there's a reason they make that play because those are the top dogs, the big time dogs like that, and they're the number 1 receiver, and they emerged as number 1. I know DK Metcalf a little questionable because Tyler Lockett, I think, produces more than him, but he making that play in the situation right there. So I feel like DJ Johnson's got to make that next step forward to get to that stardom level, become that big time player. I feel like he's one of the star players on the team, but it's been a negative of him not being that performer like he was last year. And that could be due, of course, he had Big Ben last year, was a Hall of Famer. Big Ben might have had the same arm strength, but he still had the mindset, mentality to get the ball to his guys. So that's why I said 50% could be on Jesse Johnson because he did have opportunities, a lot of drops. Remember that I still linger on with that drop that he had against Denzel Ward in that Browns game like that. That could have been touchdown right there. And then of course, well, actually had 2 of them. 2 of them that could have probably been some big yardage. I know one of them for sure could have been a touchdown, but it can be a part of the team also not put him in the right situations to win. So it's kind of on both of those standpoints. But we're gonna move on to the next thing, which is the positives. So let me move this camera right here, and let's get to the positives. The positives of the team, of course, it goes to talent. We know this team is very talented. We know they have depth. Talented, very deep, got depth. A lot of guys who are young and hungry, who are athletic, who can make big time plays. You just gotta put yourself in a situation to do it. And you just gotta make the play when you are in a situation and you get the opportunity. And your number is called. We know J.C. Johnson, when he represents a Pro Bowler, Najee Harris a Pro Bowler, Pickens, we've seen the spectacular catches. And this season, he hasn't got a lot of targets that I wish he would have got. But hopefully, he can get more targets, he implement more in the offense. Freiermuth, when he gets the ball, great things always happen. Connor Hayward, we see him make a few plays here and there in blocking and also a few catching plays as well. Jalen Warren has that explosion, that burst. He looks like a young James Conner out there, just moving and wiggling his way through and making things happen. And Steven Sims, I feel like Steven Sims, a guy who played with the Washington, there's Redskins when he played, but now the Commanders. He was playing. He had some plays over there. He made some key moments, but I feel like with us, he's been showing that he can be that burst guy, that gadget guy that you want to have like that. I know Gunner was supposed to maybe like been like that guy, but kind of like fell back a little bit after the fumbles and stuff that happened on punt return. So Steven Sims hopefully can emerge as that guy. And you look at the defense depth as well and the talent. Of course, Cam Hayward, a Hall of Famer. Minka Fitzpatrick is an amazing player, 2-time All-Pro. Started off this year, maybe the Player of the Year candidate. He still got a lot of games left to get back to that. I know he has some little shaky games with the A.J. Brown, stuff like that, but I think overall he's been playing pretty good. Larry Ogunjobi, I finally said it right the first time. Larry O.G., making big plays and very versatile defender on the line and making things happen. You got Edmonds, who's been playing better and better every year. William Jackson III, who we finally got. I don't know if he's going to be the cornerback number 1. I know he's 30 years old, still got some years left in him. I don't know if he's going to be cornerback number 1. Hopefully he is. I'm not saying he's going to be a lockdown corner, lock everything down, but I think the way his play style is, it'll fit perfectly because we do need a guy who can just get on a guy who can just play man-to-man defense. I know Washington had him playing a lot of zone defense, kind of mixed into that zone style, and that wasn't really his style. His game is more the man-to-man, to play physical, to get up on them, and I hopefully can emerge into that because we've been missing it. Because Killer Witherspoon, we thought was going to be something special, even more special this year, and he kind of fell back a little bit, kind of declined a little bit, but he still had a chance to come back. I think Killer Witherspoon is 26, so he still got years to make it up, and still got time to like get back into that level. And then Cam Sutton, I love Cam Sutton. I forgot to add Cam Sutton on the list. Let me add him right now. Let me add Cam Sutton right now on the list. Yes, guys, I'm left-handed. Let me add Cam Sutton on the list. Cam Sutton is a guy who I feel like has been the best cornerback on our team this season. He played. I like him more in the slot, of course, but on the outside we see him make some plays too. And James Pierre is another guy who also has been making a name for himself. But we've got other guys on here like Alex Highsmith who's been holding it down. Might not be as effective as CJ Watt, because CJ Watt is a once in a lifetime type of player. But Alex Highsmith has been playing very well this year. It's probably his best year by far. Then Malik Reed, we see him getting better and better every week and stuff. But yeah, we got a lot of talent on the team. A lot of talent, a lot of guys who are hungry, a lot of guys who are fiery, and a lot of guys who are ready to compete. And we just got to put it together, really, because the team is very deep. The team is very deep, the highest paid defense. You got a lot of young talent, just got to know how to use them. Now, moving on to the next. I have to get some water real quick because I'm talking a lot. Moving on, I probably said like 30,000 words so far in this video. But moving on to the next, we have returning players. Returning players, of course, CJ Watt. Like I mentioned before in the past, I said if the Steelers is not in any contention or any way to maybe compete, maybe make the playoffs or anything, don't bring them back. Now, technically, the Steelers are still in it. A lot of 9 games left. A lot of things can happen in 9 games. We've seen some crazy things happen in the NFL before. So they're technically still in it. I feel like CJ Watt might be back. And the way the team is kind of like advocating for it, it might be bringing him back. I don't know if he'll be back maybe the Saints game or maybe he'll be back the Bengals game. The first game he had against the Bengals, you know. What happened? He had the sack, he had the interception, and the team had 7 sacks total. It was our best game defensively, so maybe he'll be back. We'll see. Now, I know a person who for sure will be back probably. I'm probably 80% sure that DeMonte KZ will be back. We're seeing him watching his practice stuff, him practicing out there. Even CJ Watt look good in practice too, but DeMonte KZ been watching his practicing out there, and I think it's shaping up for him to come back. And he's a very versatile DB. You can put him in a lot of different spots out there. We see him lead the league in interceptions back in 2017, 2018. We seen last year with the Cowboys, but he did. It was special. I think he had like 3 or 4 interceptions. He had some forced fumbles. Fumble recoveries and forced fumbles and stuff. He making a lot of different plays in that backfield for the Cowboys. So hopefully, like that. In the secondary for the Cowboys. Hopefully he can come out here for us and make a lot of splash plays and get a lot of things happening and add that depth to our team that we need. And DeMarvin Leal is another guy who I don't know if he'll be back. He won't be back. I don't think he'll be back. He's not gonna be back the Saints game or the Bengals game. I think maybe he'll be back maybe week 12 or 13. Maybe the Ravens game at home he might be back. But I know they said the injury wasn't super severe and they hit the surgery on it. And he hinted around saying that he maybe come back. He may be back before the season ends. He said he think he's gonna play before the season is over. So I don't know what's the status upon that fully. But DeMarvin Leal is a guy who the Steelers used when TJ Watt went down. Of course, he got implemented more in the role, and they played like they kind of ran 3D linemen, trying to mix the package up a little bit. And he made a lot of different plays, a lot of big time plays, deflecting passes at the line of scrimmage, and just going out there and just showing them that he was worth the draft pick. I think he was drafted in he was third round for 6 a.m. And he's been playing very good, been emerging as a good D lineman. So hopefully he can get back, getting these guys back. I'm not saying that Monte KZ is going to be an all-pro or anything, but getting guys back, adding this depth, versatility to your team are always better, especially for the defense. The defense is our strong suit. And then getting DeMarvin Leal back. He might not be back the Saints Bengals game, Colts game. Maybe he'll be back the Ravens game at home. You never know. And then TJ Watt coming back will be a huge factor. Now, of course, coming back, missing like 8 weeks, and he's not going to be TJ Watt or off the back. But you never know. He is a freak of nature. But I'm just saying, like, he might have to ease into things. Maybe they limit to him to a certain amount of snaps and say we don't want to overuse him. We put him in key moments like this, and kind of use him in different ways, not overusing him, having him in there the full game, but have him in there at the right moments, the right spots. So hopefully we can do that. But moving on to the next bullet point, which is nothing to lose. And I got it all shined up and everything because there's nothing to lose, really. Nothing to lose. Our expectations are low. We've seen our team do good before. So we got nothing to lose, really. Go out there, play freely, play with heart, play with energy, play with tenacity, and go out there and just show them Steeler football, true Steeler football. I hope my talent is showing them through some seasons where they started off bad, they ended good. It's showing them that old drive and stuff. Remember that one year back in 2015 after we lost to the Cowboys, after we did that fake spike? I think it was 4-5, something like that. We was 4-5, and what we do? We won the rest of our games and went all the way to the AFC Championship game. Now, that team right there is not as good as this team. Well, that team right here now is not good as that team back then because we had Antonio Brown back then, Le'Veon Bell, Big Ben in his prime, and stuff like that. But you can still go out there and compete. And some of these games right here on the other side is winnable, which leads me to the next topic, which is the remaining schedule. And move this camera over real fast like this. But the remaining schedule, I feel like the remaining schedule, we have a chance. It's a lot of games on there that's very winnable. And I'm going to break them down right now. Our record right now is 2-6. We're 2-6, and our first game back after bye week is the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints is a team who has some quarterback struggles, just like us. They're also a team who can put some points up, too, because Chris Olave has been pretty good this year for them. Their rushing attack, Alvin Kamara, very good, of course. He's always good. He's a Pro Bowler every year, I feel like, in the league. I think so. I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. They've been in the league for like 5 years, or 5 or 6 years. They've been in the Pro Bowl like 5 times, 6 times, something like that. But yeah, they got some good players on their team. The defense has been solid, making moments here and there. I think last year the defense was a little better. Probably because they had the head coach Smith was calling the plays. He was calling the plays last year, but now he's the head coach. He kind of like overseeing both sides of the ball like that. I feel like they kind of take away a little bit from their defense, but it's still that dynamic defense. It's still a very good defense. I think go out there and make a lot of plays. But I feel like the Steelers, when they have preparation time, kind of like Batman or something, preparing for a match, preparing for a battle, preparing for a showdown at our home versus the Saints. I feel like the Steelers might have the edge in this game, and I'm going to give the Steelers the W for this game right here. I'm going to give them a W for this game. I'm going to say the Steelers take that game versus the Saints and move on next to the Bengals. Now, the Bengals game is at home. Bengals game is at home. We beat the Bengals at their home on the road, but we did have TJ Watt. But this game right here, you might have TJ Watt back. Just if, for instance, TJ Watt don't play that Saints game, right? I don't know the 21-day window closed. I think it would close after that. I think he's got some time left. So, say for instance, the TJ Watt don't play that Saints game, and they activate him, but they said we're gonna play him the Bengals game. Let them come back that game right there just to make sure. You might have a chance. You never know what could happen. And divisions games are always wacky. There's always some crazy stuff that happen in division games. Like the first game of the season we played was crazy. The Browns beating us on Thursday night football. So you see some crazy stuff happen. And there's like a lot of things that happen in division games. Like they always be more competitive than you think. So I think The Steelers might have a chance in that game, so I'm gonna leave this one right here. I'm gonna leave it like in the middle. We'll come back to that a little bit. Colts. Now the Colts away. We do have a good history in beating the Colts. You know, I believe the last time we played the Colts was last time we played the Colts. Was it the Mason Rudolph? Was it? No, it was Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers when he was the last game, the game before the last game of the season, when the Steelers was 11, I believe 11-3, and we lost 3 straight. And then we came back on the Colts like that. We beat them. Remember Juju catching a touchdown, Richard Johnson catching a touchdown, and Big Ben with the comeback in second half. That's the last time we played the Colts, and we won that game at home. This time we playing the Colts on the road. I was thinking of the one that we had when Mason Rudolph was playing against the Colts, and Minka Fitzpatrick had the pick 6, but that was like 2019. But yeah, but the Colts on the road versus them, it might be a little tough, a little bit, because you know the Colts defense is still not terrible defense like that. They still have some good guys in the defense. You know, Kenny Moore, those guys are pretty good on the team, of course. I let my mouse thing over, but I feel like the Steelers will have a chance to actually maybe win this game. Actually, I'm gonna give the Steelers this game. I think the game will be very close though, because I still feel like our team is still, you know, we still not a team that's gonna blow anybody out, but I feel like our team will go out there and win this game right here. So I'm gonna put a W on that one. Now moving on to the next game, which is the Falcons game. The Falcons game, which is a away game versus the Falcons. The Falcons have Marcus Mariota, who they're 4-4 right now. They're leading the NFC South. Got a lot of guys there. Huntley, the running back, has been playing pretty well. Corder Patterson will be back eventually. He's a very versatile player. He can do a lot of things. He can play receiver, running back, tight end. He play everything. I feel like he played quarterback if he wanted to too. And then you see the defense they're pretty solid. They have their moments, up and down moments, but they do make a lot of mistakes. I know we make a lot of mistakes too, but they make a lot of mistakes as well. Like that, I feel like that game right there going to be a little wacky game, kind of a little game with like maybe some turnovers, maybe a little high. But I feel like the Steelers have a shot. The Falcons O-line might be worse than our O-line. I know they run the ball better, but if you look at the O-line, like stopping the pass rushing, the O-line don't look the best in the world. I know O-line not the best in the world either, but I feel like the way our pass rushers are, the Cam Haywards, the Alex Highsmith, the Maybe Watt be back by then too. You can go in there and beat the Falcons on the road. So I'm gonna get the Steelers a W on that one. Now we get to some of the tough games. All the games, every game in the NFL is tough because it's the NFL. We're professionals, but the Ravens game would be a very, very, very tough game. Ravens at home. The Ravens team has been, I believe, the leaders in the AFC North right now. Very, very dangerous team. Lamar Jackson, Action Jackson. And I know they lost Rashad Bateman and the foot injury, but it's Lamar Jackson. Again, Deshaun Jackson out there. He might not be Deshaun Jackson of old, but he still has that speed. That speed is still on him. Like that may be a deep threat to take some top off the defense on defense they play. And so we're going to see. And then rushing attack they got too. Of course, all the running backs they got in the backfield. Gus Edwards, he had a little tweak, an injury last week. I don't know what his status is, but he'll probably be back. And then, of course, Kenyon Drake adding him, a dual threat running back. So I'm saying the Ravens game will be very tough. So I'm going to leave that game in between. I feel like it can go either way. It is a division game. We have swept the Ravens. We swept the Ravens the past few years, so you never know what could happen. Now the Panthers away. I was hoping Baker Mayfield was still playing. If Baker Mayfield was playing, it's a guaranteed Steelers win. But they might have P.J. Walker in. If P.J. Walker been playing pretty solid, DJ Moore is a great player. I feel like the Steelers still will have a chance and still will go in there and they will beat the Panthers. Raiders. Now the Raiders game. Now coming into the season, I had the Steelers losing to the Raiders. I feel like the Raiders had a lot of talent. Darren Waller, Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs. I love Josh Jacobs. Alabama running back, of course, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. They had Hunter Renfrow, who had 100 catches last year, 1,000 yards, a Pro Bowler. So you have an All-Pro receiver and a Pro Bowl receiver on the other side, and then you have Darren Waller, who's a Pro Bowl tight end. So you have like a lot of talent everywhere. Then Derek Carr, a nice quarterback too. I feel like he's a top 10 quarterback, but this year I don't know what's going on with the Raiders. They got Justin Daniels and everything, an amazing play caller, but I don't know what's happening with the Raiders. So I thought the Steelers definitely have a chance in this game, especially at home as well. So I'm going to leave that game like a 50-50, one of those games like that. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Now we come back down to the Ravens. The Ravens game away is going to be very tough, of course, playing on the road in a division game, especially at the end of the year when people are trying to play and get spots for the playoffs. I'm going to leave that game 50-50. And then the Browns at home, I'm going to get at the W for the Steelers because the Steelers not losing to the Browns at home. Steelers not losing to the Browns at home again, and they're not about to get swept by the Browns this season. I don't believe so. So you look at all these games, you look at that. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins. 5 wins will you probably have to win. You probably have to go at least 6 or maybe 7 wins to get an opportunity in the playoffs and maybe like have a chance because the way the AFC is shaping out a little bit. So let's say, for instance, you go in and you say, oh, the Steelers win that Raiders game, right? They win the Raiders game right there. Boom. They give us 6 wins. Steelers go out there and you got to steal one. You got to beat the Ravens. You got to at least beat each division team once. So let's say, for instance, the Steelers win the one at home, right there. And this is hypothetical. The Steelers go out there and they finish 7-2. Like that 7-2, that'll leave you up with a 9-8 record. And 9-8, you might have a chance to get the 7th spot in the playoffs, especially the way the playoffs kind of schedule, kind of like stacking up this year and the way the teams are in the AFC. A lot of teams are losing. A lot of teams got some losses on their record. I think a lot of games left to play, so maybe you might have a chance, opportunity to make the playoffs at 9-8. Like that. Now, this is a hypothetical. This is me going based on predictions and projections. The Steelers can easily go. They can go also 2-7. You never know what can happen. They can go in. They can lose this game to the Saints. They can lose that game and finish. Maybe they go 0-9. You never know what can happen. Or they can go 9-0, 8-1. Anything can happen. But I feel like this is the best chance for the Steelers right here to maybe finish at 9-2. Now, I'm hoping they win all the games. Now, I want us to win all the games. I'm just talking from a standpoint of both sides, staying between like that. But hopefully we can go out there and win all the games, every game on that schedule, and finish with 11-6 record. That'd be awesome. That'd be a very good comeback season. But I thought the Steelers can at least find a way to muster out 7 wins. Let's get 7 wins out of that. It's hard. It's hard to ask, 7 wins out of those 9 games. 7 wins. Split one with the Ravens. Split one with the Browns. When you win this one right here, still one against the Raiders. I think the Steelers be favored against the Panthers and Falcons. I believe they might be favored against the Falcons and Panthers. Maybe the Colts and the Panthers may be favored, but I don't know the Falcons. But yeah, but the Steelers can go out there and just win those games on the road like that. I feel like they have a chance. They have an opportunity. They have a chance to make the playoffs. And you never know what can happen. I know I'm just speaking from hypotheticals and things like that, but that's all I got for you guys today in this video. So if you like this video, let me get right here. Leave a like. Subscribe for more content, and hopefully we can do some more stuff like this. But I'll see you guys when I see you. Peace out.